Hi, thanks for joining me. So today I'm just going to do a vlog. Obviously, this is super low tech. I normally don't. Sure, not here. Normally don't do this on my phone, but my computer is dead. So I need to order some parts and put together a computer so I can't upload via that or anything. So anyway, I'm just recording on my tablet. I wanted to talk about the Sega CD. So it's just a vlog to like reminisce about when I had a Sega CD because I know that not everyone had that system. It was a little, it wasn't super obscure, but it wasn't your typical situation. You had to have a Genesis, and it was kind of an expensive add-on at the time. And I'm just super thankful to my folks. I forget exactly when it came out, but I got it like the Christmas that it came out. I think it was probably like 1992, I want to say. Um, Although, let me think. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I was around 15 at the time, I want to say. Um, and anyway, it was awesome. Like I was super excited. So, I got there was obviously the Model 1 Sega CD, and it came with games. So that was what I had to start off with. This is not even the collection that came with the Model 1 Sega CD. This is something that came with like a Model 2 or something, I think. But this is the same list of games minus Monaco GP here. So Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi, and Columns. And this was great because I like my Genesis was I think only maybe a year or so old. Maybe it was maybe I had it for a couple of years. I kind of forget, but I hadn't gotten to play any of these games on the Genesis. In fact, I think Streets of Rage like had come out like recently. It was like within a year or so of the Sega CD coming out. So anyway, these were great additions to just my regular Genesis library. And in addition to that, there was Soul Feast, I believe, that was also on CD. So it was like a kind of an enhanced version of that. I think I don't know that there was much enhanced about it. Maybe had a different soundtrack. I don't even remember. But the pack-ins were actually pretty copious. So you also had Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It's like a full motion video game where you're just trying to uncover clues. You go and you like interview people about this murder that happened or something like that. And even that game too, I remember playing that. I mean, it did suffer from like the Sega CD sort of really grainy full motion video, kind of like small in a like a boxed window. But even that, at the time, like it was pretty cool seeing a live action video in a video game. Like you had not seen that. I had not seen that before. In anything, I don't think. I don't think I'd seen it on PC. I don't think I'd seen it. Nobody I knew had a. Well, one of my buddies in high school, I think, had a TurboGrafx 16, but I don't know that he had the CD. I don't know that I even ever got to play it at his place. So anyway, it was cool. In addition to that, it came with like some music CDs that were like enhanced, so they were like CD and G, so it was like audio and graphics, so you could put them into the Sega CD, and you could see these graphics along with music. So like that was sort of cool because I was just getting into music at the time. I didn't really like a lot of this stuff. There was some interesting stuff like Jimi Hendrix. There was like one or two Jimi Hendrix songs with some like music videos basically, but they weren't even music videos. It was just like weird colors and stuff. It was crazy. It was the '90s and it was like multimedia. They were still kind of figuring out this crazy new frontier. So there was they were trying stuff out. I remember early when I had the Sega CD. I think it might have been that Christmas also. If there was a Model 1 that had a pack in with Sewer Shark also, in addition to all that other stuff. Um, I didn't really research, so I don't know if there was one, and that seems a little crazy because, like, you already got tons of games, and, like, I can't imagine that there would be one that also had Sewer Shark in there. But if there wasn't, then maybe my folks just bought me Sewer Shark to go along with the Sega CD. Because I had Sewer Shark early on, and I played through that whole game. So that also is an FMV game. It's basically similar to Dragon's Lair, where your controls are basically you're either pushing in a direction or you could shoot too. So you were like in a ship and you were flying through sewers, and so like you'd have to take a left or take a right, and so you'd hit left or right, or you'd have to dodge up or down, and you'd hit up or down, and then you could also shoot stuff, so you'd hit the button at certain times to shoot. But it was essentially like a long string of QuickTime events, basically what they call now QuickTime events. And but that in itself was still pretty fun. Again, like you didn't see like full motion video games, and maybe aside from something like things on the Laser Active, or like in the arcades they would have stuff like Dragon's Lair and whatnot. But anyway, it was it was new, and I thought it was pretty fun. I finished that game, got all the way to the end. Um, I seem to remember the ending being pretty tough, like the sequence. You had to be pretty fast. So yeah, so I also wanted to talk about just at the time, gaming when you're a kid. I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but I have to imagine that, it's not that different when, like, here I am, 14, 15, like, I, I think I got a summer job maybe when I was 15, so, like, I started, and also, like, I'd help out my folks with chores or things that were going on, like, we were building an addition onto the house, so I helped out a little bit with that, and so you get a little bit of money here and there. You didn't necessarily have to rely on your folks for all of your purchases, but it was still like I didn't have a lot of games for this thing. It's like not. It's different than when you're an adult and like you can choose to like buy a game or not. Like it's more of a choice. When you're a kid, it's like sometimes you just don't have that choice. You play what you got, or you wait till your birthday or something. But I was a Star Wars fan, and I remember I was excited about Rebel Assault. Unfortunately, like I don't have a lot of memories of it. Um, I would encourage you guys, if you're curious to know what it looks like, to just look up a YouTube video just to check out some gameplay footage. I just don't remember a lot about it. I think it was one of those things where sometimes you make bad decisions. I just thought, oh man, I've got this new Sega CD. It's super cool, and there's a Star Wars game on it. I have to get that. And I remember I played it, and I was kind of like, eh. Like I seem to remember, it's fuzzy, but I feel like there were like distinct styles of gameplay, like 2 or 3 distinct styles of gameplay that you went through, and I don't remember even what they were, but it was sort of like you had some sections that were like this, and then some sections that were like that. They seemed really discrete, is kind of what I remember, and I don't think it was everything I was hoping for. I don't know that I finished that game. I seem to remember the feeling that I have left about it is that I was disappointed with Rebel Assault. Um, but continuing with full motion video games, I picked up Night Trap, or my folks picked up Night Trap for me. And it was a big controversy at the time, and they didn't care, and I didn't care. It was just like the cover of the game, it looked like a slasher movie or something, and you had all this full motion video to it, and I was like, oh, this is cool, let me check this out. It's, you're 15 or something, like it looked like something that would be fun. So I remember playing that, and it was fun a little bit. It was campy and cheesy, and you guys, I'm sure. I mean, this is not my copy of Night Trap. This is an enhanced edition of Night Trap that you actually had to have the Genesis, of course, with the Sega CD, with the 32X, and this actually has like better full motion video on it. I picked this up, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, something like that, just because I wanted to have a copy of Night Trap just because I remember playing it on my Sega CD. But anyway, it was cheesy and goofy, and it was kind of hard. Like I remember, I gave it a try. I tried to like learn where the monster guys were going to show up and set off the traps so that they wouldn't kill all the people there. And it just, you have that dude that like yells at you when you screw it up, and I had fun with it, but I never like finished the game. I never beat Night Trap. I was, however, a big fan of light gun shooters in the arcade. I didn't get to arcade game a lot, but at this point, again, like you're a little older, like I don't know, your folks go to the mall or something, and you just be like, hey, I'm just gonna hang out at the arcade. You have some quarters or something, you can play some games. So I really enjoyed playing like Lethal Enforcers and later like Maximum Force and Area 51, those kind of full motion video light gun shooters. I still love those. Those are really great. And so I got, actually, you know what? I forgot to grab it out of my closet. I believe I still have the Lethal Enforcers with the, like, I don't know, the Justifier or something. It was like I want to say, I don't know, I don't remember who made it, but anyway, you had the light gun attachment for the Sega CD and the Sega CD version of Lethal Enforcers, and that was great. I really enjoyed that. You could play it on your CRT TVs. Definitely had a lot of fun with that, and it's funny, I've beaten that game in the arcade now. Like recently, there's an arcade I like to go to. It's like one state over, so it takes a couple hours to get to, but it's called Fun Spot, and I even met up with uh, Corn Muffin, ex Corn Muffin X, which you guys, some of you guys that follow me know him. We met up there and actually played some games at arcade. That was really fun. And but it's anyway. I've beaten like Lethal Enforcers at that arcade. I think maybe even a couple times now, but at least once. But anyway, so it brings me back to the Sega CD. I don't remember if I actually finished the game on the Sega CD. I have to imagine that probably if I had it available to me, um, to play at home anytime I wanted to, I probably did finish that game. Especially, since I can finish it in the arcade, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I know I enjoyed playing it though. It's a fun game, and the Sega CD version of it, I think, more or less did the game justice. Next up, so I had talked about how I wasn't born an RPG fan, and I didn't have even a Nintendo, an NES. I did play my brothers, my stepbrothers, and we shared that system for like a couple of years. And so at one point, we like my folks were like, hey, like we were out. They were like, we'll get you some games. Like you pick out a game for the Nintendo. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And my brother picked out Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy, and I picked out Super Mario Brothers 3. And I think those were awesome choices. Like we were in gaming heaven there. Like couldn't have made better decisions, I don't think. Except, I remember distinctly thinking, like, man, I think he made the better choice because, like, I'd played Dragon Warrior a little bit. I think we had that kicking around the house, and that was fun. But it was sort of like, I mean, it kind of you got the idea of what an RPG was like, but I didn't really get into it. Final Fantasy, I really got into. And so, because I liked Final Fantasy so much, the first one, and I'd played some computer RPGs too. So, on the Genesis, I specifically sought out Might and Magic, which I really like. I beat that game, it was great. I thought it was really good. And the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game, I think Warriors of the Eternal Sun, I beat that also. I also enjoyed that. So, I'd kind of gotten my feet wet with RPGs, console RPGs, a little bit with those games. And so, having the Sega CD, of course, I was like, oh man, I should get an RPG because those have been really fun. So, I picked up Lunar. And that was amazing. So, Lunar was my first RPG, I would say, where it's like you weren't rolling your own party like all of those other games. Even Final Fantasy 1, you're rolling your own party. You can pick from different character classes, and you set up 4 different characters however you want. Lunar, it was all story based, and I you know I honestly sometimes I like rolling the characters. I think a little better sometimes, but Lunar, you got to go on this really fun adventure with like this cool cast of characters and like great music and stuff and like some like cutscenes and things. It was very very cool. I had never seen anything like it, and I really enjoyed it. I did get to the end, and I think I remember distinctly it said, "Oops, too long" or something like that, because I think I spent too long playing the game, and like so I didn't get the good ending. And to this day, I still haven't gotten the good ending. You know, it's just one of those things like I didn't have the time or patience to like play through the whole game again to get a good. I mean, I just didn't do stuff like that when I was 15 years old. You know, it kind of makes me wonder if like why I have bothered to do some of that stuff since then. But so a follow up to that, I picked up Popful Mail. That turned out to be an action RPG, but Lunar I think really got me into like the anime style, and so Popful Mail was localized by the same company, also had an anime style, and I was like, let me try this game. That was a lot of fun, but I didn't actually finish Popful Mail. I remember distinctly I did get stuck partway through. It's kind of a goofy localization by Working Designs, but that was a pretty cool game too. I remember thinking like the cutscenes were super cool and the gameplay was pretty fun, and like it had some personality to it. So that was a cool game. And finally, so the last game, I was fully into, on board with this anime styling. And so I picked up Time Gal. Now, this was much more the style of gameplay that you had with games like Sewer Shark, things like that. Same sort of thing, like you press left, right, up, and down at various prompts, or there's like a shoot button, or an action button that you would press. But it was fun. It's like the character looks very much like Yuri from the Dirty Pair, and she like flashes through, travels through time, and then you just go through the game kind of like uh, Dragon's Lair, and that was it. But that was a fun game. But I just wanted to make the point that that's all the games I ever really played or had for my Sega CD. And I forget how many games came out for the Sega CD. In North America, I looked it up previously. But this, I don't know what it, I mean, the pack-in games, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 other games. Um, like that's maybe 6%, I think, of the games available for the system. So, it just goes to show, like, even when you owned a game system as a kid, like, you didn't necessarily get to play that many of the games for the system. But, um, but yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys, like, what I did get to play on the Sega CD, and just the fact that, I have really fond memories of my Sega CD. It might not have been everything that, I could have hoped for. I know there's a handful of other games on the Sega CD that are, regarded as really good, but I think I made some great choices, and I had a fun time with it. So I just wanted to, reminisce a little bit and just share that with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll join me again.